things are always changing and we don't always know how to handle it when things are changing. And then as Christians at times, sometimes I think we feel like we're supposed to be able to just be blessed and highly favored at all times and everything is perfect and nothing is wrong and we're whatever. But I think that that is unrealistic. Okay. I think that yes, we have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. Yes, we have made that decision. But that does not negate the fact that we are here on this earth living this life for the first time and navigating it, okay? And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about navigating life's transitions as a Christian. So welcome back to the show where we always keep it raw and real and uncut about everything as it pertains to being a Christian. And today is no different. We are talking about transitions in life and how to navigate them. If you have listened to me or watched me for any period of time, you know I have been in lots of different transitions. Some of them I've done well, some of them I've done poorly, and some of them I am just like, I'm still here. I'm still standing. Sometimes that's all I got, okay? And I want to normalize the fact that it's not always fun. That you don't always feel blessed and highly favored. You don't always feel close to God. You don't always feel like doing the Christian thing. Okay? You don't always have these Christ-like feelings, right? Sometimes life be lifing. And we get this amazing opportunity to acknowledge that first. Okay? Christ is our everything. We love him. We're obsessed with him, as the young people would say, right? But that doesn't negate the fact that our love for him includes our actual life that we're living on earth, okay? And I just want to normalize the fact that if you are in a transition or going through a transition and it's not necessarily the funnest thing, okay, that you are maybe having a difficult time, right? That is normal, okay? Because you are navigating this life. You are figuring this life out one day, one step at a time with God, okay? And when we're going through transitions, that means that here's what was and what we are comfortable with, what we know, so on and so on. And here is this in-between time, knowing that we're going here. Not quite sure how this is going to work out. And then we get here and we're still like, did I do the right thing? Right. And then we get on the other side of knowing that we were with God. Right. So all of that is a part of this whole process. And I feel like that when we are in a season of transition or we're going into a season of transition, that there's going to be some uneasiness, okay? There's going to be some times where you're just like, I just don't know if I'm hearing God right. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't even hear God. God, are you there? It's me, Margaret, right? You're feeling all these different feels. And again, that's very normal. But what do you do in those times, okay? Here's what I would say that I do in those times, okay? When I have been in seasons of transition, I have learned that I've got to give myself grace, okay? I've got to give myself grace to navigate this new journey. I'll give you an example. So when I recently, a year ago, moved back from San Diego to Houston, once God told me, no, you're moving, he gave me the confirmations, then that began the transition. Here is where I am in San Diego, and I got to get from here to here, okay? Practically, I've got to figure out how am I getting my things and myself from this state to this state, okay? And so those are things that I could just say, God's going to figure it out. I had to talk to my apartment complex, put in my notice, okay? I had to take my car in to get any kind of repairs because I was going to drive my car across country with my cats. I had to have a conversation with my vet, letting them know we are getting ready to move back to X, Y, and Z, recommendations for a vet, all that type of stuff, right? Then I had to go through my house and decide, am I going to sell everything and buy everything new when I get to Texas? Or am I going to try to move everything? Or am I going to sell some things and move? I had to figure all those things out. Then the expenses of all of that and where is that money going to come from? Okay. Plus my running my business or whatever. Okay. So that was the practical things, right? But then it became like, oh, where am I going to live? So then I had to figure out getting a trip to Houston, find a place to live. all that type of stuff, getting approvals. And then it was like, okay, God has invited me on a journey. I'm excited about where I'm going, but I don't know why I'm going there. And in that time, I cannot say that he told me exactly why he wanted me to move back to Houston. He didn't. He still hasn't said this is why you moved back to Houston. I have not heard that, and it's been a year and some change. But what I do know that he did was he said, "Do you remember when you were getting ready to move to California?" And a lady came to you and said that you were going to move to California, but you were going to come back to Texas, and you like shunned her. You were like, whatever. He was like, just want to give you that reminder that she gave you that prophetic word 5 years ago. And I was like, so it was that another confirmation that like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. I heard the right thing. I'm going where God has asked me to go. Right. And then once I got here, it was like, okay, where do I go to church? Right. And it was quite the journey. It's a year of me going to this one church and feeling like it just wasn't the right place for me. And I wasn't sure, to where somebody introduced me to someone. They're going to a specific church. I went to that church and said, this is it. This is my church. Right. But it was not easy. It was hard. It was hard to transition from San Diego to Houston, getting here, realizing I'm starting everything all over again. No friends, no family. Everything is new. Just everything is everything. You know what I mean? And then spiritually learning the new environment like that I'm in and all that. And then trying to find a place. Just all this stuff, you know? So in this time, I have been giving myself the grace to just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Right? To just unpack my house, clean, eat, whatever, to run my business, organize as I can, start meeting people, going to church, go to different places till I find the right church. And in the time when I didn't really feel very close to God, I had to just give myself the grace to just say, right now, I don't feel close to God. I will still pray to him. I will still obey him. I don't feel close to him, but I'm still going to X, Y, and Z, you know? Like right now, I'm in this period. I'm not exactly sure what the period is where I'm not journaling. Like I looked at my journal this morning. I was like, I have not journaled in a month. And I usually journal every day. And I was like, okay, something's going on. And so if I'm not journaling, then that means I'm not pouring out my heart. That means I'm also not emotionally expressing how I feel. And that also means I'm not talking to God as much. And this morning I had the awakening of like, oh, this has been a month. I have not done this. And I'm said, okay. And I got the time to just acknowledge that. And then I said, well, what is actually going on? What am I doing instead of X, Y, and Z? And he made it clear, you know, what I was doing instead. And I was like, you're right. And so now I'm in this transition of getting back to what I was always doing, right? Not to mention I've lost 30 pounds and I've been in a transition phase of like toning up my body. And so that's a transition, you know what I mean? But ultimately, when we're in these big life transitions, we have to give ourselves grace that this is a season and we are navigating it for the first time. But the best thing I think that we all can do is still staying connected to God. So even though in this past month I haven't journaled, I haven't prayed as much, I know that during the daytime when something was happening, I prayed. That when something was going on, I said a prayer and I just prayed and I talked to God, right? Or I know I was on a plane one time. I think I was talking in tongues one time on the plane or something. But I was like, I had these little bitty spots of prayer. Whereas normally I have like my elongated time where I talk to God. I've been doing these like spurts. So I've still been staying connected in some particular ways, right? So like I was at my hotel in California and I still anointed my room with oil. I still prayed, you know, I still did my normal thing, even though everything isn't the way that it normally is, because I'm in a season of a transition. And so I feel like the best thing you can do is give yourself grace, and also still talk to him, even if it's not as what it usually is. If you're in the shower, talk to him. When you're driving, talk to him. You know, on the treadmill, talk to him. When you're cooking, talk to him. You know what I mean? Even if it's just a little bit. Like I hear moms all the time that say, I used to have all this time, and then when the baby came, I didn't have as much time anymore. And so the mom started going like, when I have my shower, I do this. Or I get up an extra hour and do this. When I'm cooking, I do this. Or when I'm doing this, I do this. And it's like they're able to like get these little bitty spots in of these moments, whereas otherwise they wouldn't get anything. You know what I mean? And so that's what I would say. If you're in a transition, stay close to God as close as you can. Don't go all the way off. You know, still talk to him in the ways that you can and in the time that you have.